and I'm really excited to start working on this sketch for my next layout. And I'm really excited about this sketch because obviously it shows these two big photo blocks here that look like they could be 4x6s, or they might be a little skinnier than 4x6s. So they could be large photo mats with smaller stuff inside, or what I'm thinking for myself though, because I have 4 photos here, they're 4 3x4 photos. I'm thinking I'm going to combine those 4 photos somehow in this area to make these blocks. I don't know yet if I'm going to make them vertical like this and have 2 really long skinny blocks, or if I'm going to kind of rotate the sketch and maybe work with these in pairs. Lots of options there. I'm excited to sort of play around and see. These are photos from my birthday gathering that I had earlier in the year in January on a really cold day, which is why we're all in winter coats. And I'm sort of taking the lead for the color scheme from these color cast designs, sort of minty green and pale yellow in that. And so I've pulled some other things, some yellow and minty green and blue papers that I think are gonna go well with the cool colors in these photos since it was winter. And I also pulled out a strip of vellum that I think I'm gonna work with because Jen's sketches are so great. As you can see, she has this strip here that the title is based on, and you can tell in the sketch, it's a suggestion of course, but it's translucent. And so her sketch has so many great details that give you the suggestion of something you might try. And for me, I'm thinking that putting my title on vellum so that it is set apart from the rest of the page, but also still translucent so you can see everything, I think I might try to do that. So let's speed this up and get started on the layout. Okay, so as I get started on this layout, I'm laying out the photos and I'm trying to figure out if I want to stick with a white background, if I want to, you know, select a different color background. I definitely love this sort of galaxy constellation paper. It's a minty green with some gold stars and sort of star chart prints. And I think I've decided that I'm going to have at least some white on the page, and I'm going to use that galaxy paper on the sides. Rather than do what the sketch did where there's a little bit less of a border on one side than on the other side, I went ahead and made them equal. I think I'm going to go for some symmetry on this page. And I realized that the block that's in the center of my 4 photos together is definitely bigger than the 2 photos that are shown in the sketch. And so I'm trying to make some decisions about what to do about those square layers that the photos are sitting on in the sketch. And in order to actually get those photos all placed there and have the layers and still have wide enough pieces at the edge that I can really show off that minty paper, I'm running into a bit of a design challenge because I don't want the middle mats to line up or to overlap those pieces on the sides. I would much rather that to still have that space flowing around the photos, you know, that the whole trapped white space kind of design rule. I don't really want to cut off that flowing white space. So I'm still thinking about layers underneath there, but I might just do something else. So anyway, right now I am placing down to sort of decorate those layers a little bit. I'm placing this washi tape that looks sort of like notebook paper, but it has all sorts of little teeny tiny words printed on it. And the words that are on it are yuck, do-over, meh, sort of a straight line face emoji, not today. And that may seem strange for a birthday layout, but I have mixed feelings about this particular birthday. So I had a really fun gathering with some friends, but there was a lot going on in my life during this birthday that makes me feel like I'm going to use sort of a mix of happy stuff on this layout, along with journaling that sort of shows my mixed feelings. And I think that this washi tape is a nice subtle nod to the fact that everything wasn't perfect on that day. A little bit ago, you saw me cutting off a strip of the washi. That's just so the lines of text sort of line up, and there was a pink line going down the washi to make it like a notebook paper, and I didn't think that went with the layout, so I trimmed it off. And now I'm taking another washi tape that's covered in black stars that I felt went with the theme of the page pretty well, and I ripped it in half all the way down, which was not easy to do, but I made it work. And I'm adding that now facing the other direction to finish decorating up those borders along the sides. And I really like how that turned out. I think the black sets off some of the dark bits in the photos really well. So I'm going to keep playing here, kind of testing out embellishments, testing out where I want to put my title, you know, trying to lay things out so that I can figure out as best I can where things are going to go. I'm not sure if I've completely decided at this point, but I probably have, that I'm actually just going to forgo those square layers under the photos in the sketch. And I'm okay with that. I feel like I went with a decision to make my photo block a little bit bigger. I'm going to add a few layers under the photos to add some interest there, but I am actually pretty okay with just letting a couple layers go because the photos in the middle, I made a conscious choice to make that area bigger. So no worries there. Still playing. I think for a moment I might put that title vertically, but I don't think it pops as well as when it's on the photos and on that vellum strip. So you'll see me move that back. So while I'm fussing with layers, I've got, you know, some journal cards. I've got some freckled fawn embellishments, something that's going to point to the journaling, pulling out embellishments and just layering bits behind everything. Got this cute card that's covered in tickets, and the other one has like popped popcorn on it, and I'm not even sure in the end enough is showing that you can tell what it is, but I know it's popped popcorn, which is perfect because one of the activities we did was go to a movie for this birthday. I had brunch with friends, and then I went with those friends and my brother and nephew to see the new Star Wars movie that came out last year, so that was episode 8. Still playing with layers. I think, and I stick this yellow chipboard piece up at the top that says life is always better with a smile. I sort of like the optimism in that. And now I'm sticking down my typed journaling. Now I typed this journaling on my computer in Microsoft Word, and I printed it onto Avery clear label paper. And I really like how that turned out. Usually I use my typewriter and journaling strips, but in this case I had this block of journaling that was a little bit longer, and it really, I think, went right onto the page really well onto the label paper. So creates a nice look. It almost looks like I printed it right on the page, but I don't have a 12 by 12 wide format printer, so this was a great solution to get that working. Okay, so while I'm playing around and sticking everything down, I'll go ahead and read you that journaling just so you know what it says and you understand sort of my mixed feelings about the day. The journaling reads, "For my 36th birthday, my friends came out to brunch at Ethel and Tank and to see Star Wars The Last Jedi at the Gateway, even though it was one of the coldest days of the year. I enjoyed Nutella pancakes and a coffee cocktail for brunch, but the biggest treat was getting to sit by Simon at the theater and watch him enjoy episode 8. The day was far from perfect. I was worried about Dad in the hospital, and Dan had to take Rupert to the emergency vet at the last minute and couldn't come to brunch with me. But I still have really good memories from this day, and I want to eat those pancakes all over again." So definitely a mixed bag of a day. A lot going on with my family, and then my cat got sick, which wasn't an emergency or anything really. It's just meant that sort of threw a wrench into the party. And I kind of have this track record of a little bit of bad luck on my birthdays the last few years. So not to be a downer, overall this is a positive page. I love the photos I got. I got to watch my nephew just completely light up watching Star Wars in the theater with me. So all in all, a good day. I'm fussing with getting these photos lined up the way I want. You saw me flipping them over and adding washi tape to the back so that way I could get one big photo collage with the layers underneath it so that I can move that around the page. I really like to do it that way when I know I'm putting together a lot of pieces and I've got layers. That way I can just move that around as one big block. I find that really helpful. Now I want to get that piece of vellum cut exactly the size I want. I'm laying that across. I think that ended up really good. Like I'm just covering up some legs of a couple of people in the pictures, and then that ugly movie theater seat is going to get covered by part of the title as well, and I think that is a great compromise. Sometimes when you're covering up part of your photo, you don't like that, but I love covering up, you know, distracting elements and putting things sort of in the empty space in photos. I'm using some Tombow Mono multi-glue to adhere the acrylic title words right down onto the vellum. And then once I've got those on the vellum, I can put the glue in those same spots on the other side of the vellum and stick the whole thing down, and that way it won't show. I have this cute little epoxy sticker from Freckled Fawn that says "Read This," and I'm adding that to the bottom so that it can point right to my journaling. And then I'm ready to stick the whole thing down, which I do with double-sided tape. I'm trying to figure out where I want this cute arrow that says this. It's a little chipboard arrow that has all the colors in the layout. And I'm still just kind of moving embellishments around. I find these great Chamel gold photo corners, and I'm sticking those onto the photos at the top of the photo block. I love photo corners. They're still one of my favorite supply. I've been using them since I started scrapbooking, and I just can't get enough of them. Still playing with that little yellow chipboard piece. I'm eventually going to decide that I definitely like it at the top there in the empty space above me and my friends. This larger chipboard piece, I'm trying to remember what it actually says. It has a sentiment on it that I felt like went with the page pretty well, but there really was just no place to put it. I do have this little mini flare from Feed Your Craft that says nom nom nom, or hashtag nom nom nom, which is perfect for those pancakes. I'm adding some little enamel dots and enamel stars just to embellish the page, and those do end up going in areas that are very close to where they show on the sketch, some little circle dots and things like that. I think I do 3 clusters instead of 2 like the sketch shows, but it all works. I'm playing around with these little arrows, and in the moment I feel like that's a little bit too cluttered, even though I do feel like there's a little bit too much more of that theater seat showing in that one photo. And I'd like to cover that up, and eventually that arrow is going to make it back onto the page, and it may not even be in the video. I think that it's just in the end photos that you'll see that I put a little arrow back. Okay, so now I'm trying to figure out what to do about that long strip of empty space between the photo block and the journaling next to the little arrow pointing down to the journaling. That's actually a perfect place for like a long phrase or a long embellishment. So I'm digging through my stamps so that way I can find something to put there. I'm selecting some options. And as I dig through my stamp collection, I find that I have a stamp that says, "I am grateful for this," from Feed Your Craft. And then I have another stamp that says, "This Crazy Messy Life," I think from a Studio Calico set. So I decide to combine those to say, "I am grateful for this crazy messy life," which goes perfect with the theme of the page. And I'm putting that together on my acrylic block, and I'm getting ready to stamp it. And just as I'm getting that all inked up, I'm relieved that I realized that I had meant to stamp that in a way to where I chopped off the "this" in one of the stamps, but I didn't catch that in time almost. And I was going to stamp, "I'm grateful for this crazy messy life." And I'm really glad I caught that, because I realized, oh, I need to stamp those separately, and I need to make sure not to stamp one of those 2 thises. So I regroup, I go back to stamping, and I make sure that I'm only stamping this once. So now I have a complete phrase. "I'm grateful for this crazy messy life." And I really like how that fits in there. I also like that I used 2 different stamps because they're 2 different sizes of text, and I think it adds a little bit of interest to that area. I'm re-adhering this photo block. I was going to try to work around it, but it popped off really easily, so I was able to just move it and then put it back. The little skinny sentiments on the stamp set for the physical kit for this class would actually be a really great thing to put into a tight space like that if you have areas like that on your layout where you're trying to fill space. I definitely could have used some of those stamps as well. I am pulling up the date so that I can stamp that onto my layout as well. I add that right to the bottom of the journaling block there. And I'm just sort of looking at the sketch and looking around and feeling like it's done. And it definitely is. You can see that arrow made it back on the page. Here's another close-up shot. And then a full photo of the layout. Thanks so much for watching.